All right, so have you ever had one of those like aha moments? You know those moments where something just clicks in your brain?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Turns out there's this whole hidden messaging system happening up there, making those light bulb moments possible.
It's true.
We're talking neurons, synapses, the whole shebang.
Mm-hmm.
And today we're diving deep into a brand new study from the Journal of Neuroscience.
Ooh, very cool.
It's all about how our brains actually make those aha moments stick.
I like it.
So there's this great article on SciTech Daily that lays it all out. It's called How Your Brain's Hidden Messaging System Powers Learning. And it was published February 1st of this year.
Nice and recent.
So, okay, for a long time, scientists have been trying to figure out how signals from synapses, those connections between brain cells, travel all the way to the nucleus.
Right.
To like
Ooh.
turn on genes,
Mhm.
you know? Like, it's a long journey for such a tiny signal.
It really is. Imagine trying to send a message across a crowded city during rush hour.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing that anything gets through at all.
Right. So how does the brain do it?
Well, that's what's so cool about this study. They found this whole pathway that explains how it happens. And at the center of it all is this protein called
CREB.
Yeah, CREB.
Sounds kind of like a supervillain or something.
Maybe. But actually, it's more like the brain's ultimate party planner.
Okay, a party planner. Explain that one.
So CREB's job is to activate the genes that are responsible for making long-term changes in the brain, the kind of changes that solidify memories, so the ones that make those aha moments stick with you.
So CREB is like the one who makes sure all the right people show up to the memory party?
Exactly. Scientists knew that CREB was crucial for memory, but they didn't really know how it got the message to start the party.
Right.
But this study, it's like they finally mapped out the directions to the party, and it turns out it's like this mind-blowing relay race.
It's relay race in my brain.
Yep, picture this. The starting line is the synapse, where two neurons are communicating.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
When a signal needs to reach the nucleus, it's like the starting pistol goes off. Exactly. The first runner, a receptor molecule, grabs a baton, then passes it off to an ion channel, and this sets off this cascade of calcium signals.
Hold on, calcium, like the stuff in milk.
Yep, the very same. It plays a totally different role here, though. Inside our cells, calcium acts like a messenger, relaying information from point A to point B.
So the calcium is like carrying the message, zipping along.
Exactly. It's like it's sprinting towards the nucleus with that important message in hand.
And where's the finish line in this relay race?
The nucleus, of course, where our party planner, CREB, is waiting.
Oh, okay.
When those calcium signals arrive, CREB springs into action and triggers the process of gene expression. It's like CREB flipping the switch to turn on the music and get the memory party started.
So basically, every time we learn something new, there's this microscopic party happening in our brains.
You got it. And it's all happening with amazing speed and precision. It's truly incredible.
That's a lot of pressure on little CREB.
Right. But there's another layer to all of this that's super important. It's not just about how our brains work on a basic level.
Okay, what else is going on?
This discovery, it actually has the potential to change how we approach memory disorders.
Like Alzheimer's.
Exactly.
Right.
Now that we have a map of this pathway, we can see where things might be going wrong in those disorders.
So it's like figuring out which runner in the relay race is tripping and dropping the baton.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And that understanding, it could lead to targeted therapies that address those specific breakdowns in the signaling process.
Wow, so this isn't just cool science. It could actually lead to new treatments.
That's the hope. And one of the researchers, Dr. Delacqua, put it like this.
Yeah.
He said something like, now we can examine how these pathways work in different diseases, identify the problems, and get a better understanding of how memory and learning get disrupted.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It makes you appreciate just how incredible those aha moments really are, knowing what a complex process is behind them.
It really does.
But wait a second, this all seems so complex. How do they even figure out this whole pathway in the first place?
That's where things get really mind-blowing. They use this cutting-edge technique called two-photon microscopy.
Two-photon what?
It's basically like this super high-powered microscope that lets you see the activity inside living cells.
In real time?
Yep, in real time. So they were actually able to watch those calcium signals racing along the dendrites.
That's like shrinking yourself down to the size of a molecule and going on a ride with the signal.
It's pretty wild what science can do these days.
It's like they could see those sparks of insight happening.
Pretty much.
It's incredible to think that we've gone from just theorizing about how the brain works to actually seeing these processes in action.
It's a huge leap forward.
So before we get too carried away with all the possibilities, what's the big takeaway you want listeners to walk away with from this first part of our deep dive?
I want everyone to realize that this study isn't just about neurons and molecules. It's about understanding the fundamental mechanisms that make us who we are. Our ability to learn, to adapt, to grow as individuals.
Right, and this research shows that it's all built on this intricate cellular communication network that we're only beginning to grasp.
That's right.
So next time you have that aha moment, take a second to think about all those little messengers racing around in your brain, making it happen.
Exactly. But there's still more to this story.
Ooh. Is that a tease for part 2?
You bet. Let's take a closer look at this incredible relay race.
Okay, I'm ready for round 2.
Great, let's go.
All right, so we've got this relay race going on in our brains every time we learn something new. But I gotta say, this whole calcium thing still has me kind of confused.
I know, right? It's not just about strong bones and teeth. It turns out it plays this huge role in how our brain cells talk to each other.
So how does it work? Like, does it actually run around delivering messages?
Well, not exactly. Think of it like this. When a signal comes in at the synapse, it triggers this flood of calcium ions.
Okay.
And those calcium ions are like messengers. They carry the signal along the dendrites, like a chain reaction.
So it's like a wave of calcium spreading the message.
Exactly. And all that buzzing eventually reaches the nucleus where CREB's waiting. And without calcium, that message would never get there.
So no calcium, no memory party.
Pretty much. But here's a question. If this pathway is so important for making memories, does that mean we can actually train our brains to learn better?
Ooh, good question.
Right. Like, can we make those calcium ions run faster or something?
I like the way you think. But seriously, can we?
Well, we don't have all the answers yet, but there's definitely evidence that certain things can help our brains learn more effectively.
Like what? Spill the beans.
Well, all those things we always hear about, getting enough sleep, exercising, eating healthy.
Yeah.
Those are all super important. It's like building a strong foundation for your brain.
Makes sense. But what about actual learning?
That's where things like learning a new language or picking up an instrument come in.
Ooh, yeah, like challenging your brain.
Exactly. By doing those things, you're forcing your brain to create new connections and strengthen existing pathways. It's like a workout for your brain.
So my brain's like a muscle.
Kinda. The more you challenge it, the stronger it gets. But just like with muscles, you need to give it rest too.
So no cramming for tests all night.
Probably not the best strategy, but on the flip side, if our brains are so good at adapting, can they also be negatively affected by things?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Things like chronic stress and lack of sleep can really mess with our brain power.
So it's a two-way street. Got to take care of our brains.
Exactly. It's all about making good choices for both our physical and mental health.
Right. It's amazing to think that just getting enough sleep can make such a big difference.
It really can. But hey, let's not get too bogged down in the negative stuff.
Agreed. This whole conversation has been pretty empowering, knowing that our brains are always learning and changing.
Totally.
Yeah.
It means we're not stuck with whatever brain we have now. We can keep growing and learning throughout our lives.
That's a great reminder. So this amazing signaling pathway, it's like a symbol of how powerful our brains really are.
It really is. And we're just scratching the surface of understanding how it all works.
That's pretty exciting. So what's the most important thing you want listeners to take away from this part of our conversation?
I want people to remember that our brains aren't static. They're always changing and adapting based on what we do and experience.
It's like we have this incredible power to shape our own brains.
Exactly. So what are you going to do with that power? What are you going to learn today?
Ooh, good question. But before you run off and start learning a new language, stick with us. There's one more part to this puzzle we need to explore.
And it's a big one.
All right, so we've talked about the relay race and that party in the nucleus, but you said there's one more piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, this is what really blew me away about the study. They actually saw this whole process happening.
Wait, what do you mean saw?
They used this technique called two-photon microscopy. It's like this super powerful microscope that lets you see what's going on inside living cells, like in real time.
No way. So they could actually watch those signals moving through the brain.
Exactly. They could see those calcium ions rushing along the dendrites.
Wow, so they actually saw the learning happening.
It's not that simple, but they were able to visualize those calcium signals moving from the synapse to the nucleus, like watching a tiny city light up at night.
That's incredible. So they could see the whole process that leads to a memory being formed.
Pretty much. It's a huge step forward in understanding how our brains actually work.
Yeah, it's like science fiction becoming reality.
Right. And who knows what other amazing discoveries are out there just waiting to be uncovered as technology gets even better.
It's mind-blowing to think about.
Yeah.
But for now, let's focus on what we've learned today. This deep dive into the brain's hidden messaging system has been incredible.
We started with a simple question. How do those aha moments happen? And now we know all about those intricate pathways and messengers that make learning possible.
It's a good reminder that our brains are capable of so much more than we often think.
Definitely. So the next time you have one of those aha moments, think about that incredible dance happening in your brain, all those neurons firing and signals racing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever take learning for granted again. So to all our listeners out there, keep those brains buzzing, keep exploring, keep learning. And we'll be back soon with another deep dive into the fascinating world of science.